students doing such a fabulous job there. I'm sure you'll all agree. So, and a very, very warm welcome to Matthew Zorpas, author of the influential menswear blog, The Gentleman Blogger, creative consultant and lecturer. So we're going to ask Matthew a few questions today, which will hopefully give you a better understanding of career roles in the digital environment available today. So, welcome. Thank you for joining us. To kick us off, I just stated you as creative consultant, blogger, author, and lecturer as well now, I may add. What does your job actually entail?
So I'm coming from a communication background. I graduated in PR, my BA in global media and communication, my MSc. And then it was kind of the time of the recession here in the UK and the rest of Europe. I went through the process of applying for internships in lots of press positions and marketing positions. However, unsuccessfully, kind of nothing was working at that time. And I kind of started setting up as a freelance consultant in terms of advising young generation designers to set up their own business through a much more budget of setting up an online profile, of promoting their Facebook page, creating campaigns for them. And that started working quite a lot, and one client after the other. And a year and a half ago, I also launched the Gentleman Blogger, the blog. That became a great success. We're probably talking about it in a while. And then I started also teaching because academia started having a strong interest to the digital media, to the digital marketing. So kind of that's how I broke through academia as well.
Okay, thank you. What skills or traits do you think students need now to succeed in the industry? Because obviously you've got contact with lots of different people in lots of different roles. What do you think is really important to be successful?
I think the first thing, the key thing in the industry is first visibility. And it's very hard to be visible out there, to be visible with your name or to be visible with your work. Everybody has a great standard of work, everybody has a certain certificates from very prestigious universities or institutions, they travel worldwide. But how do you get that message across to the business side? And that's what the social media is offering. And I think if you're present on Twitter, if you're present on Facebook, if you're present on LinkedIn, through my experience, I figure out that that's where I get to meet the industry, I get to talk with the editor-in-chief of that magazine, I get to talk with the buyer of that head department, and I'm doing it by my own, so there's no middle person involved, there's nobody that's going to bring me behind the computer and do the job that they want me to do. I'm there and I'm dealing with the industry directly. And it's hard to do it nowadays, and I think the new generation coming in and the new graduates coming in, it's even harder to kind of be visible, because everybody will have 3 internships, 5 internships just before even graduating, but they're all in the same level. So I think differentiating yourself, having a blog and having great following, I think that's what the industry is looking at the moment. And I was hearing with the Gucci group that a friend of mine saying that nobody actually goes through the process of interviewing, because first they check them if they're online, if they're on Facebook, if they're on Twitter, if they're on LinkedIn. If they're none of the 3, then they don't go through the step of the interview. And it's interesting that the industry started looking at that one.
Yeah, absolutely. So you think probably passion, again, we've heard about this before from some of our other speakers, it's probably in determination and motivation. Passion for the industry is probably a key.
I think it's passion. Passion is, yeah, I have plenty of passion. But again, how to translate your passion, it could be a creative passion, but how to translate that to make yourself visible in the industry, to make yourself able to be heard, to also survive as well, because you need funds, you need, from my career as well, I'm saying that I need somebody to constantly fitting in money, so I can do whatever creatively or whatever I'm passionate to do, but I need to think the business side too. So it's balance between the two.
Yeah. So you talked a little bit about your background, and obviously we're going to get on to seeing some of the Gentleman Blogger site itself. So when did that start, and when did you think, well, I'm going to start a blog and this is what it's going to be about, and I'm going to take lots of pictures in different outfits, and how that became successful? So what was the kind of catalyst for the launch of the blog?
So I've been kind of, through the experience of consulting different designers and building up their digital profiles and kind of familiarizing myself more and more with kind of digital strategies and digital tactics, I was like, one day I woke up and I'm like, oh, why shall I not apply those strategies to my own platform? And that's where the idea of Digital Blogger came along. We have then, I think, 2 slides, one more. And a year and a half ago, I was already surrounded by lots of bloggers, friends, and all of that, and everybody was like, oh, why you don't open your own? And I'm like, there's so much noise, there's so many people out there that they have a blog. And I was always putting myself behind, and I'm like, they have enough, there's enough noise out there. Plenty of traditional journalists, Susie Menkes was mentioning about the circus of fashion, and there was lots of negative publicity about it. And I'm like, maybe the trend is over. And but then I was like, okay, let's research the market, and I kind of identified that there was not enough menswear bloggers out there. And then the menswear bloggers that they were out there, very big ones such as Brian Boy or Pelagio, if somebody's following them already, they're kind of very trend focused. So it was all about being trendy, wearing all the key pieces of the collection. But I couldn't find anyone that was just wearing a plain suit, a white shirt, and a tie. And that's where I kind of started building a business model of a niche market. And that started with the philosophy of the gentleman. That's a year and a half, we're going to be 2 years in the summer. And on the first day of the launch, I had 1,000 unique visitors on the first day with the first blog post. And I'm like, wow, there's even the need out there, so people are looking to find someone, to identify someone. And on the third day, I already had a project with Thermal Exchange. And 5 days a week down the road, I had an agency representing in New York and an agency representing in Paris.
Wow.
So, and up to today, I'm still like seeing, I always get impressed with how much there is into it, because the industry is still looking for people to be represented by. And they have lots of marketing funds or digital funds gathered for that to split around, and they're still looking. And remembering here in Florence the other day, and Igit was saying as well from Gucci digital department that they're still looking for people. They're still looking to find niche people that they have that strong influence, and it's constantly a work to kind of rebrand yourself and offer something.
So finding something unique that you're interested in and making that a focus as a starting point. Perhaps using some of the slides from the blog, could you talk us through some of the collaborations and some of the things that you've done today? Would be good.
Next one. Again, in terms of people always question about their success, how all the success came along. And again, it's kind of using marketing strategies or PR strategies to make that happen. This one was a feature in the Evening Standard in 2010, naming one of the best dressed men in Britain, and that's GQ Taiwan for 2013, one of the top 5 fashion experts emerging. And that's where kind of the printing industry, the publishing industry started supporting kind of the idea and bringing that back audience to me. Everything, both of the interviews happened organically, so a street style shot went through Esquire editors, and then there was a competition running, and then all of a sudden that kind of brought me down to the second position, and also the GQ Taiwan. And that I found that's where my traffic started booming, and more people started watching it, more people started taking the pictures of me during all the fashion week, so street style kind of helped me out as well. I was credited in every single big blogs or website regarding my style, and kind of started building a profile. And then through the year again, what I find challenging with the blog is about, again, remaining relevant. And this one was an example that we were working with Gatsby. So all around London, it was the release of the new movie. The music industry was releasing songs about Gatsby. The Windows of Selfridges was inspired by Gatsby. The whole weekends, it was parties about Gatsby, dressed up and all of that. And there was all that noise, like if you were around London at that time of the release of the movie, you could see that something was happening regarding the aesthetics in fashion and style about Gatsby. And that's where again the idea comes from a blog to actually make that your own, pick up that idea and make it translated to your own platform. And that's where we collaborated with Vivian Westwood and kind of created a campaign for Gatsby, created a blog post about Gatsby. And again, what I find with the blog, the success of it and how it grows, it's about, again, stories. It's about telling stories that nobody has heard before, the uniqueness, being unique and having something to say that's very, very different. It's not a press release, it's not high-resolution images by that celebrity or the other celebrity. It's about creating your own stories. And last year, I traveled 55 times all around the world in 1 year, from South Africa to US, to Europe, to South America, and every single trip was actually sponsored and funded by a brand or airline or luxury brand, and the possibilities that gave me kind of expanded the whole business side of it. So Brazil now comes to be one of my biggest traffic. I have US, UK, China, and I'm counting 45,000 unique visitors per month. And that's, again, I created a whole brand and people are interested to see where I'm traveling next, what I'm wearing next, how I adapt my style to a certain country. The interest in the whole lifestyle, so it's about what I eat, if I go to the gym, if I do that. So the interest in that whole profile. And again, it's all about creating this content, generating this content that is unique and nobody else has in those platforms. Even to that extent of, again, if you're doing a facial, you actually need to give it out, you need to share it with your audience, and that again comes back to you as like everybody sharing, and that has become one of the most popular posts of the blog. And you go like, why? But people are interested in terms of that, people are interested to see you in all kind of the faces in your life. Also again, using other marketing strategies that you will use for a fashion brand, and it's about collaborating. And that's a collaboration that I done with one of my friends, Maritza from Istanbul. She's another fashion blogger, women's wear, and the idea was again to create a love story together and kind of exchange traffic. So it was me featuring the story, her featuring her story, and then exchanging that traffic. And that's again the idea of a collaboration. If H&M is collaborating with a fashion brand, the same kind of concept, exchange those audiences. And also again, kind of touching again the uniqueness of creating a unique story. This one was a project that I done last year, and it was designing with a furniture designer. And it was the time of London Fashion Week. So every fashion blogger out there, they really like fight about the front row seat in every show. And what I come to stand out, I'm like, I've been to all the shows, I've done that, like it's the same thing over and over again. There's still a bit of magic that, for me, I was no longer feeling it. And I said, like, even if I'm there, if I'm in front row, if I'm at the end of the catwalk, if I have access backstage, I will still have the same picture like everyone else. I will still have and report the same thing like everyone else. What can I do within the week that will attract my traffic, I will have a strong traffic and will be something different than just a catwalk show. And at the same time as London Fashion Week was London Design Week, that it was just down the road from Somerset House. And I collaborated with this furniture designer, and the idea was for me to contribute my wardrobe inside the furniture, and then once a day throughout the duration of the exhibition, I will be kind of using the wardrobe and changing a suit live. And then I was calling my audience and his audience to come in, tweet and take pictures and share that information around. And it was a very, very successful project. And again, recreating something and creating something that is not just a noise about something. Next one. This one again, another collaboration with a fashion brand that was Reese in the summer in 2013. And what we done again, very cleverly, kind of getting a physical space and then forwarding that audience that somebody was going to buy a shirt from their shops in London, and then they would see my think tank selected by me, and then kind of seeing the blog link, and then kind of that again exchanging traffic. And next one. This one is the biggest project probably they done in 2013. Was the closing project, was the collaboration between the Water and Tommy Hilfiger. I was selected one of 4 faces of Tommy Hilfiger tailoring line, and then we were releasing a digital collection in collaboration with the Water online. Worldwide, and what they came up to do were actually having my first window display. Can I have the next slide? In Rinascente in Milan, curated by me, and again, kind of visibility from a physical space, sending a traffic online to the blog. And another kind of story, I'm talking lots of stories. This one was an example with, again, how you can translate a beauty product. So Gucci would come to me with a press release and a product and gifting, and they're going to go, James Franco is the face of the new campaign, we want you to feature these high resolution images, you have the product, you're testing the product, you have the press release of what you need to write, go for it. And I'm like, there is nothing creative about it, it's not relevant, people we not get people, my audience, interested. And for this one I decided to recreate the whole campaign for them. So it was a blog post about how to actually use perfume. And again, they kind of love it. And you see that there is, that's where kind of the creative consultant element comes in, that you have this passion and you have this creativity, but brands are kind of dry in a way, so they would come with a certain budget, where they would come with a certain package of press release and high resolution images, but you need to kind of fit them back with a more creative concept to actually create something unique that is relevant to your audience. And in September I actually also kind of funded and self-published my first book. So the blog was running already for a year, and it was kind of the closing project for the year. And it was the idea of featuring one of my favorite 100 places in London, bars, restaurants, hotels, and combining that with fashion, and I was featuring every single place wearing a different suit. So we have 100 suits, 100 places. And that kind of expanded, and it was, I felt the need that my digital audience wanted to have something printed, wanted to have something in their hands. And it was again having a passion and a creative passion to actually create something that nobody else has done before. Sartorius has, or Face Hunter has launched books of other people, however, how can I translate that when it's a personal platform? So I actually created the book. And we launched in a pop-up store in collaboration with Carnaby Street. Very, very successful, and it was all about the book, again, all about the fashion elements and my favorite locations. And going back into it and getting references and credits and features from printed publications or for credible publications, or for Telegraph, Dolce & Gabbana again, giving us the credit and kind of promoting it through all these different platforms. And I think this one is kind of how the book looks inside, and it's again every picture a different suit, and the suit and the place is credited by time, and then at the back you have kind of the directory. It's now all available on the Gentleman Blogger online, and we're almost going to the second edition hopefully next month. And yeah, it's growing, it's still growing.
Wow, I mean, I asked a question and I didn't expect the answer to be exact, but it just goes to show, you know, my question was really about what opportunities has the blog site brought you, and I think that's certainly answered the question. That's an amazing journey and actually a very, very short period of time, which I think does demonstrate the pace of the change that's happening in the industry at the moment, doesn't it?
I think it's touching again that element that in 1 year I managed to be visible as an individual and not behind a different company. So I have come to work with luxury brands, premium brands, high street brands, hospitality, huge hotels, huge travel agents, and I have come to work with them as business to business. And it's very hard to do that these times. And for our generation, for the generation coming, it's very hard to actually be visible and work in that level.
Yeah.
Because it's always people from the industry will tell you, get 3-4 years of experience, you finish your master level, you do that, then you go through the experience and all that process, but it doesn't seem to be moving, nothing is moving. I think so that's where I find the possibilities from a digital platform that I launched for free. You don't need to pay anything. You always have the question, who is your photographer? And I'm like, my flatmate is my photographer, whoever is around, my friend, and I'm just having this vision, and I'm like, okay, you take the picture from here to there, and that's the shot. So you have no expenses until you get something, until you reach a level. And it's that possibility for me, and that's what I want to give away as well with teaching and now Winchester as well in the program. Like there is possibilities out there for every single one of the students to actually become their own brand and do something very, very creative that they're still passionate about it, and they can actually still survive in the market.
Yeah, I mean, I think it certainly, from what you've talked about, shows the success of the blog has really been about offering a point of difference and turning things on its head a bit, and not just sending out, sort of like you were saying, a press release coming in and just doing the generic kind of feedback, but doing something interesting with it that's obviously working really well and made it successful. It has been. So yeah, that's fantastic. So you just touched on your teaching, and we've been really honoured to have your contribution recently. So, I mean, obviously I know, but for the benefit of the rest of the audience in the room, your skill set, what are you teaching our students which is really giving them an edge?
So now I'm teaching the first years in fashion promotion, and I'm going for a second year in digital marketing. Again, what I see that it lacks from the new generation, it lacks from the students, because we kind of learn to place it in a certain way. You have, as soon as you finish your BA, as soon as you've done your master, the industry is there with open hands to kind of embrace you, and that does not happen. And you need to kind of give them the idea of a reality check that if you open a Twitter account when you are 18, 19, your first year, by the time you graduate, you will have hopefully 1,000 followers by that time. That 1,000 followers will be an audience that you can carry with you for your whole life, whatever you want to do. You want to open a brand, you want to become a consultant, you want to be a celebrity for your own benefit, you want to, whatever you want to do is done. Traffic, it comes with you. But you need to kind of be able to open it now and know when you decide to need it. So it's about developing that process of realizing what's important. Then you go through LinkedIn. We've learned a lot to kind of, again, understanding LinkedIn, how it works, understanding what networking is about, understanding how can you get in touch with the creative director, how you can get in touch with the marketing director, and not just by sending a job application with your CV and a basic template. So again, how you can embrace and show your visibility, again, going back to that, and become visible to this digital world, because everybody's looking at that first. So it will happen in your life probably once or two that you're going to meet someone that is really important in your business field, in a party, all of that, but the rest of the whole business is happening online, so everybody's looking online. So it's kind of preparing them to build this online or digital portfolio that they will be ready by the time that they graduate, that they can carry with them.
Yeah.
We've done in our trip in Florence and Rome, we also opened a blog. So every student needed to contribute their stories in a digital platform that for academic side a resource for the next ones to come. So immediately you have a proof of stories, of beautiful stories, of bad stories, of good experience, of bad experience of students into a digital platform that you set up for free. Before you needed to force students to write essays, and you have all that paperwork that next year you throw away. That having the digital blog immediately, that could be a reference point for the next generation. But also for the students, kind of the first approach of how many passionate do I have the language, do I have a certain way of talking, a certain way of presentation, do I have a creative talent in photography. So you're challenging them in all these different kind of platforms to actually find their own passion, find their own kind of uniqueness, to be visible again to the industry.
Yeah, I think we certainly felt that in Rome and Florence, the trip from last week, was that the students did, it forced them to open up their eyes to everything, and they could write about anything. I think that really supported a real development of knowledge actually on that trip, which was great. Coming back to you, Ben, in terms of your working in the industry, who was your biggest influence in why did you want to work in fashion? Where did this come from? Were you always wanting to work in the industry? Where did it start?
I'm kind of from Cyprus originally, so a very small country, an island of less than 1 million people. I moved to London to study, and I've been living here for the past 8 years now. I think it was something that I felt inside. As soon as I made that transition from Cyprus to London, and you kind of, in London, you get exposed to everything in terms of style, in terms of fashion, in terms of all these different elements that the London carries with it, and qualities. That's kind of where that drive came of like, I would love to work in fashion. And then I remember I was still a first year student, and I applied for an internship at British Fashion Council, and I actually liked that on my second year. And I go to the interview, and it was a lady with a PhD next to me, and I'm like, okay, I have no chance. I'm a first year student, she's a PhD. And then 2 days after, I received a phone call from them actually wanting me, and I'm like, why is this happening? And that's where kind of you're discovering yourself, you're discovering what you're unique about, what your talents are. And with a bit of luck, sometimes things can expand to a whole different level. Yeah, so I think it's something that came out organically. I don't think it was planned in any way.
So, when you travelled with us to Rome and Florence, you were impeccably dressed the whole trip, I have to say. What do you think about sort of British men's style in general? Do you think they need smartening up, or do you think they're almost there, or is the blog a kind of quest to smarten men up, or what's your view on British men?
I think it's showing there is, like, I managed with the blog to be just before the trend. I think that's where it kind of, again, became very, very successful, because it was just before the trend of gender. And again, it shows the industry how much focus they have. British Fashion Council just launched the menswear week, so we used to have one day, now we have the whole week. And again, there's so much money going into that industry, into menswear, and I think they're taking money from the menswear, they're putting into menswear now, more and more. And there is, I think, we have the hipster movement. London always had the Savage Row, so we kind of have a heritage, a very strong British heritage in terms of the London menswear. But then the hipster movement came along, and then that's slowly kind of heading towards like, well, guys needed to be dressed well, they were expected to shoe shine, they were expected to go to grooming every week. If you walk in East London, every other shop is like a grooming shop, and you go like, wow, okay, something is changing, and it's no longer limited into gay or bisexual kind of audiences. It's more broad than that, because before I think we have kind of the stereotypes of who is fashionable, or who is taking care of himself, who is going to have a haircut, who is having a shave and all of that. But now I think it's kind of expanded in a whole different level. And you see it from every single brand, from brands are realizing that Gucci has their own shoe shine company, Ted Baker is launching their own grooming shops, Ferrari is investing in that. So all these different brands are actually going back to kind of get into the lifestyle of the gentleman. I don't think there's a long way to go. I think it's how do you remain, how do you maintain that. To do again with the blog, for me, that's kind of a trouble, because that's where you realize there are so many other bloggers coming in now, presenting kind of a similar idea with viewers, and how do you still remain relevant. But in terms of questioning the style, I think we are there, like comments, celebration, they're all there. And it's something that's coming back and stronger every season.
Thank you. I could go on forever asking questions, but I'm aware of the time, and I'd really like to open it up to questions from the audience. So I think there's probably a few for you, I would imagine. Has anyone got a question for Matthew while he's here about his presentation so far? Blinded. Questions, anyone? Oh, Craig's got a question on the front here.
Hi. You mentioned very early on at the beginning of the talk about a scenario where someone didn't get a look in at an interview because they weren't on social media. So obviously there's a kind of a pressure for students to be on Twitter and Facebook and to use social media. I just wonder, with the kind of stakes being so high in regard to getting a job or not getting a job or getting an interview, whether there's anything you would advise students not to do on social media, or if there's any mistakes you see people making.
That's an interesting question.
And things you might, or just or is all publicity good publicity in that respect?
From my experience, I think like advising someone to be on the social media, I was advising someone to be on social media as a brand, as a business profile. So if you check my Facebook account, you saw that there's nothing personal about that. So it's translating those social media and make them kind of like a business profile. So as you have LinkedIn, which is very professional, you cannot go wrong with that. Then your own Facebook kind of needs to translate that. So and then Twitter. I think with Twitter, that's kind of where you can go wrong, or with Instagram, if you're taking pictures, or if you're, I don't know, drunk at 3 o'clock in the morning, you kind of start uploading things. That's where you can go wrong. Exactly. But I think if you're conscious of, okay, they have a certain following coming in, or I'm going through like an interview process, you need to be careful in terms of the language that you use on Twitter, in terms of the content that you create in all your social media. And there's plenty of cases of experts of, I remember last year was a huge account executive, I remember from which PR agency, that she was traveling to Africa, and she made a tweet just before taking the plane, and then she got fired as soon as she got out in Africa. And because it became trendy topic on Twitter, everybody was retweeting because it was so offensive and stuff. So I think it's something that you learn through the process. So you will probably have bad experiences and good experiences, and that's where you kind of build up and put the filters. And even with the blog, certain times I see myself like doing something a bit more creative or challenging myself in terms of style, and the next day I receive a phone call from a huge brand saying that they drop me out because they see that and they cannot relate into it, and you go like, wow, I was expecting that fashion is open and creative. However, there is certain limits, and I think until you experience where the limits are, then you can frame yourself.
Thank you for that. Any other questions? Yeah, there's one in the middle there. Can you pass the microphone? That's great.
Hi. I wanted to know, like, the clothes you wear on your blog, are they like, do you buy them yourself, or are they given to you by brands to like advertise?
You go through the whole process. So I started with my own wardrobe at the beginning. Then, of course, when a brand comes in, so now there's all this investment that brands are gifting you things. I was lucky before this morning, it was like getting deliveries and deliveries and deliveries from all the different brands. like that people, they will not only gift you that, they will also pay you to actually wear it. So I think it's a transition happening. So lots of brands is, before I think was the easy game, the brands gifting you a pair of shoes or gifting you a suit, and then you were expected to wear it on the blog and create content for them. Now kind of the ball has turned around, and because of the uniqueness of it and my following that I have, I'm like, I don't accept any gifting. If you want to work with me, if you want me to create a content for you, this is the rates. I have an agency behind me as well, so they're kind of pushing for that and dealing with that. So for me, in terms of you go questioning the style and how unique you remain in terms of that, it's about, again, working with brands that you relate to and make it look organic as well. So kind of supporting a suit from the right brand that you like and make it work. Otherwise, your audience will kind of leave you out because they think that this is paid, this is sponsored, and you have no creativity.
Just curious about how long did you take from the process of buying your own clothing until you get sponsors?
Because it was menswear, I would say, because the blog is menswear, and it was just because the whole trend happening and the transition happening. For me, it happened on the third day of the blog. I already had a sponsor already, a money exchange already working with me in Hangman. So I think it's about that uniqueness. Women's wear really would be much harder. So if you're having a women's wear blog, it will probably take you 2 or 3 years to do that. But I think because I had an original idea and nobody was there at the time, researching the market and understanding what the market needs, that's a kind of make it work.
Thank you, Matthew. We've got time for one more. Well, I'll close with the final question. I just wondered, obviously you are the brand and the product itself, and you have to post every day, I'm assuming. You have a very busy itinerary, and I know that when we got back from the trip that we just took recently, very late, and I noticed when I went on your site the next day you'd already been up and put your next post on. I was thinking, do you find that quite exhausting, knowing you've got that pressure that you've got to maintain that momentum?
I think as soon as you have investment, as soon as people are investing in you and you have deadlines, you're expected to produce these at that time and that moment with that high standard, it becomes a brand. So it is a brand now. For me, it is a brand. It needs to be treated like a brand. So it's like opening a shop at 9 o'clock in the morning every day. So it's not that I am laid back and, okay, I have this project and I can do it in 2 weeks. And it's hard. And it's hard because you need to get out in the cold and shoot summer collection. So you're doing the same thing as a model we do for an editorial campaign. You need to look good, and you don't have budget for hair and makeup or lights, so you don't have the whole production company coming with you, just you and the photographer, which is my plan.
And filters.
And filters, there you go. And then you use the filters to kind of do that. And then you need to find the beautiful sunny weather and the beautiful sunshine all around London to kind of chase it down at the right time to kind of get the pictures right. And then responsibility of finding a new location every time that can inspire people or who fit your outfit. So it comes with a big package of responsibilities, and if you want to maintain that, you will see plenty of brands standing in front of the mirror and taking a picture with their iPhone, and then that could be a content as well. But for my platform and for my audience, is everything is focused and kind of I'm going through that perfection element for every single post.
So responsibility but opportunity. I think that's probably a really good place to end. So thank you so much for taking the time to come and join us today, and thanks very much, and a round of applause for Matthew.